I'm your host, Jessica Shocklee, and this is the Bold Foundations Podcast. The information shared in this podcast, Bold Foundations, is for informational and inspirational purposes only. While we discuss strategies for shifting your mindset to cultivate a more positive and fulfilling life, this podcast is not a substitute for professional, medical, psychological, or therapeutic advice. If you have specific mental health concerns or medical conditions, we encourage you to seek guidance from a qualified healthcare professional. Everyone's journey is unique, and professional support can provide personalized assistance tailored to your needs. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that myself, the host, and any guests on future or past episodes are sharing personal insights and general information, not medical or psychological advice. Always prioritize your well-being and consult a professional when necessary. Ouch! Don't let your insurance company add to the pain in your neck. It's time to lawyer up with Shocklee Polino Personal Injury Attorneys. Store 727-498-8771 in your phone now. That's 727-498-8771. Offices St. Petersburg, Clearwater. On this episode of the Bold Foundations podcast, I share with you my own perspective on how to live a positive and happy life. Being positive and living a happy life is totally obtainable. Full stop. Let me say that again. Being positive and living a happy life is 1000% obtainable. I have pulled myself out of situations that you would never imagine. I have completely shifted my mindset to be positive. I am a recovering negative Nancy. Let me share with you tips that I have in order for you to unlock the life of your dreams. Hi guys. I wanted to try something a little bit different. I have recently started the Bold Foundations podcast, where the intention was to have weekly interviews with women who share their hero stories. They share an obstacle that they've overcome, and it is meant to inspire other women. However, if we go back before I started it, the whole reason why I started a podcast is because I have been really working on myself and really working on my own mindset, being more positive, and I'm starting to get a lot of really awesome feedback from other people on the podcast itself or sharing with me that they enjoy the positivity that's being put out, which is a dream. And thank you so much for continuing to share those things with me. But I wanted to put out a different episode. I'm going to put this out on Wednesday. Last Wednesday, I actually shouted out to a few women on my social that I just thought about, wanted to share some really cool wins of theirs. And I think I want to do this more often. I mean, I think, if we think about the fact that negativity is contagious, I'm a firm believer that positivity is just as contagious. And I want to share that positivity germ with all of you. So, with that being said, I just wanted to talk about what steps and what things that I have been personally doing to live a more positive life in order just to be happier in my day to day. I just want to say that I am no means an expert. I never want to be an expert. I feel strongly that you should always be the student and you should always be evolving and always learning. But I have been doing a lot of research and a lot of self-work that I just want to give you my perspective on things that have been working for me and that I've learned along the way. So, just your friend who's continuing to try to live a happy life. Like many of my guests and people around the world, I've also survived abandonment, neglect, assault, abuse, and loss. But in reality, there's no scorecard here. Traumas big and small can leave lasting scars that have us wearing masks to protect ourselves. Those masks can lead us down further dark alleys, away from who we truly are and who we want to be. Of course, I fell deep down at times. It's completely normal and healthy to feel moments of sadness, anger, and fear. My point is, you can't let anything keep you down. My hope is that after listening, you can take these tools with you and start to see how practicing a shift in how you think can unlock a whole new world for you. This isn't about being oblivious to reality. It's about changing your perception in order to learn life lessons and gain positive impacts from something your past self would have only thought poorly of. Being positive is the goal because when you are living a positive life, you are just in a more grateful, fulfilled, happy place. I will say, I am a recovering negative Nancy. I did a lot of negative talk. I was very self-deprecating. I think that I thought if I was self-deprecating, that it would keep me humble, it would use some humor, and that that was somehow a good way to move through life. But what I started to realize was even though I was playing it off as a joke, I'm still saying out loud and giving light to the negative things. And whatever that may be, like, oh, that would happen to me, or of course I'm the one to get sick. And that is, again, making that negativity even more contagious for myself, or even just sharing that with other people. And I've really started to learn the importance of speaking and thinking positive words. Now, this takes practice. I mean, this is not something that comes natural to me, and it's something that I think that we have to strive to work on. Just like when you're working out, you're not going to be able to immediately go bench press 200 pounds. There's always goals that you have to slowly climb the ladder to reach. So, stopping yourself every time you have a negative thought and flipping it to what can that teach me? Stop thinking, why is this happening to me? And start thinking more in the light of, what is this doing for me? What can I learn from this? Okay, so let's unpack this specific advice first. Let's say, for example, a colleague or peer has been selected for the promotion over you. This is a job that you felt you were extremely qualified to get. Maybe you've been there longer than the other person, and you're feeling angry. You're wondering, did favoritism come to play here? Like, why would I ever be passed up for this job? Why is this happening to me? I challenge you to look at this situation differently. I challenge you to really look at yourself and see if there are other skills that you could better master. I ask you to look at yourself and not just look at the skills of the job, but maybe your people skills. Maybe you were trying and hoping for a leadership role and you feel qualified based on your tenure or qualified based on performing well at the tasks, but maybe your people skills could use a little bit of work. I challenge you to look at the person who did get the role and have an open mind and really look at their good qualities. What good qualities do they have that really fit that role? And use that as a bit of a mirror and as a tool to look at yourself and see what you can improve on. I also challenge you to use your communication skills and go to your superior in this situation and say, hey, I was really hoping to get this promotion. I would love to know what I could work on in order to have the opportunity to get it the next time it comes around. Being thoughtful on how you use your communication is really important here. It's important because you need to be coming from a place of you really want personal growth. And you need to just remove any sort of animosity or anger or jealousy out of it. If you focus on yourself, your relationships, whether that be at a job or at home, will only improve from here. Maybe generally you just want to know, why am I always so tired? Why do I feel like I can't ever get anything done? Stop asking what is happening to you and ask, what is this doing for me? If you're feeling tired all the time, maybe you have this 3 p.m. crash. Ask yourself if you've overindulged in coffee. Maybe this is your sign that you need to pull back from the caffeine because you've put yourself in adrenal fatigue. Maybe ask yourself, have I gotten up too early? Am I not getting enough sleep? Maybe ask yourself if you're lacking motivation. Why? Maybe ask yourself if it's time to go to the doctor because you haven't been there in years for a checkup and maybe you need your hormones checked. Use these moments as self-reflection and focus inward on yourself. Think of everything in life as a lesson and an opportunity to grow. And listen, I know crappy things just happen sometimes, but if you continue to play victim in life, you are always just going to be continually knocked down. You have to take those crappy situations and figure out how to flip them to a more positive way of viewing the world or viewing this particular situation, because next time it comes around, you are going to be more equipped. So it's not about having rose-colored glasses that you just put on. It's about having rose-colored eyeballs at all times. How can I grow from this? I am not the victim. I refuse to be the victim. I am going to look at life as a lesson, and I am going to continue to climb the ladder of my life where I am continuing to be better and better each time around. The next thing that I truly practice is being excited about any possibility that could happen. I firmly believe that having big dreams is such a key component to being happy. You have to allow yourself to think that anything can happen because it can. And the bigger that you dream and the more that you allow yourself to feel the excitement about a possibility, the more that subconsciously you are actually going to work towards those things. Decide that you want something big and then take action afterwards. And I promise you, if you decide that you want something big, subconsciously, you are going to start to take teeny tiny little steps that open the doorway for you to take a bigger leap. If you want to buy your dream car, you're probably going to start perusing the internet for what that car looks like on the inside, how much it costs, what features it offers. If you want to buy your dream house, you probably will start looking at homes on Zillow. If you want to write a book, you'll probably start typing out some thoughts on Word document here and there. If you want to start a podcast, you'll probably start listening to other podcasts to get inspiration on how you want it to be formatted. All it takes is that first step of saying to yourself, I want this big thing and I feel worthy enough to have it. And the rest will just magically Things will just magically clear for you. And then it's your responsibility to take it further. If you've ever read the book The Secret, or if you've heard about the law of attraction, I am a big believer in the law of attraction. The more that you live in the energy and in the space that something positive is already happening for you, it will. So, again, that goes back to shifting the negative talk to a positive lesson or something positive that's happening to you. If you've ever heard of the burnt toast theory, the alternative is you could be upset that you were late for work because you burnt your toast in the morning and you had to remake another piece. Or you could realize that that opened the door for a better possibility for you. You being to work on time and leaving at your normal time could have had you in a place where you were in a car accident. But because that burnt toast happened and it took you longer to get out the door, you avoided that. Always look for the silver lining. Planning something. Right now, my husband and I are looking forward to the future. We are going to be celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary in May. And we are talking about the possibility of taking an international trip to celebrate that. Now, whether that trip happens or not, the planning of that trip ignites so much excitement. It's something for us to do together. Oftentimes, planning the vacation is the best part of it. I mean, you're going back to what I was just saying about being excited about opportunities. The fact that him and I can sit together and we can explore all these different countries and daydream about what it would be like to experience a new culture in Istanbul, Turkey, or climb mountains in Peru, you are creating possibilities and opportunities together that are only going to make you excited for the future, which is something that we should all be. Daydream. Daydream about your dream life. But don't just dream about it. Really feel what it would feel like to be waking up every day and going to your dream job. Or what would it feel like to live in the place that you've always wanted to live? Or what would it feel like to walk out on stage and sing the song that you wrote? So essentially, what I'm talking about here is manifesting. And some of you, if not a lot of you, may hear the word manifestation and think that's a little too woo-woo for me. So I just wanted to share with you that Mel Robbins recently on her podcast actually had a neurosurgeon come on, and he describes what is essentially manifestation. He says that you think of an idea, you write it down, you read it, you visualize it, and you do it over and over again, and that begins to embed in your subconscious. And then subconsciously, you do start taking steps to have those things be achieved. So if you are somebody who's a little adverse to the woo-woo, just know that there is scientific people in the community, there are medical people in the community that are saying this is a real thing. So again, that's why it's important to make sure the things that you keep reiterating to yourself are positive, because if you are constantly thinking about the negative, you're going to accidentally manifest things for you that you do not want. Don't ever doubt that those things can't happen. Just continue to not just visualize it in your head, but taste it and feel it. Practice flipping those doubts into excitement about the possibility. And I think one thing that I've really have learned in speaking to women on the podcast, sharing how they've come out of these awful tragedies and turned it into something positive, is every single one of them had to dream big. They had to have faith that it was going to work out. They ultimately knew that it was going to get better and something good was meant for them. And you have to hold on to that. Romanticize your life. Your life is the only life that you're going to have. And if you don't romanticize the little things, you're missing out on so much joy. Having a really special cup of coffee in the morning is something that should be celebrated. Being able to randomly have a day off work and it's the nicest 75-degree weather outside should be absolutely celebrated. Being able to go to a Saturday morning market and purchase the most beautiful arrangement of flowers. You just have to savor those tiny little moments and picture yourself in this romance novel or movie doing it. So here's the thing. That sounds amazing and easy when you're having this beautiful, blissful day, but not every day feels like that, and you're going to have days that just feel like they suck. So it's even more important to celebrate, romanticize, and be grateful for those tiny things that happen during those suck days. So let's take, for example, our household recently came down with the flu. We were all down for the count all week. So you know what that feels like. You feel like absolute crap. You've got body aches, you can't breathe. You might be a parent like me, and you also have to take care of other humans on top of it. So in those moments, it can feel really hard to romanticize the part of your day because you just feel like absolute crap. So again, go back to the teeny tiny things that you can romanticize. How about the fact that you can be like Sleeping Beauty and just be in your bed all day? I mean, how often do you get to do that? How often do you actually just get to bed rot and watch TV as an adult? I mean, that almost never happens, right? And maybe you feel like crap, but it's beautiful outside. And you can look out your window at this sunny day and be so thankful that it's not miserable outside, too. Make promises and commitments to yourself, but follow through. When you make commitments to yourself that you actually complete, you are generating confidence in yourself. But if you tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym today, and you don't go, you're automatically and subconsciously creating more and more self-doubt on yourself. The more that you can actually follow through, the more confident you will be, which will ultimately create a mindset of being happy. And listen, I am realistic. I told myself at the beginning of the year that I was going to go to the gym all the time and I was going to eat this protein, healthy diet. But guess what I did? I got sick. I fell off the wagon. I started eating not the best food, and then I just went straight for the crumble cookies. So, you're not alone when it comes to not following through with your promises. You do need to give yourself grace when that happens, and you just need to jump back in. But the point is, the more that you can follow through, the more that you can really commit to yourself like you would commit to somebody else, the better off you're going to be. And the confidence that you get from accomplishing those tasks, it's just going to level you up in this whole goal of being more positive and happy. Those commitments can be big or small, but I would definitely encourage you to start with small commitments to yourself that are obtainable every single day. And maybe it's just something simple as you want to improve your morning. I'm not a morning person. It's something that I've had to really work on because that's the start of my day. And that is how my day is going to continue if I don't pull myself into a more positive direction. So maybe your commitment to yourself is that you're going to blare some crazy dance music and you're going to dance with your cup of coffee while you're getting ready in the morning. Or maybe you want to make family time extra special every night and you light a candle and have fresh flowers at your dinner table. Or maybe you do really want to focus on your body health and you want to start incorporating movement every morning. And maybe that's just going out for a walk. You have to follow through. You should do something every single day that feels good and is going to improve your state of mind or your body. Celebrate your wins. Everybody is moving so fast in today's society. I've recently heard that you don't realize how far you've come because you just continue to raise the bar. And that really hit home for me, and I think it can really hit home for a lot of people. I think that we're always trying to just hit the next milestone or accomplish the next goal, which is great. But if you don't stop and celebrate the wins, and not just the wins, celebrate the effort that you have done. Because you shouldn't just get a pat on the back when the job is done. You should pat yourself on the back for trying. You tell yourself that you want to run a marathon. Are you only going to celebrate crossing over the finish line? Or if you've never run before and your goal is the marathon, are you going to celebrate yourself each time you're able to run an extra mile? Because I know I would celebrate you doing that, and you should. Celebrate every win. Celebrate the win of the effort. And slow the heck down. Again, society today is trying to teach us and mold us to think that we need to go, go, go. If you don't slow down, you will never appreciate what you have. If you can't appreciate what you have, you will most certainly never, ever be happy because you're never satisfied. You're always thinking you're not good enough because you're trying to get to the next goal. And this goes back to celebrating your efforts and celebrating your wins. Think about what it means to slow down. What does that look like for you? Because we all have obligations that we need to do. We all have jobs, we all have deadlines, we all have kids or family or projects that we need to have things accomplished for. Slowing down could mean that you wake up a little bit earlier and you give yourself some quiet time to really think about those things. Maybe you are somebody who likes to journal. But I'm not telling every person that they need to wake up early, and this is coming from someone who's not a morning person. Maybe that means actually taking the lunch break. A lot of people feel like they're in the rat race and they need to keep going and they don't have time and they'll just eat at their desk. I was just out to dinner with a friend the other evening who said previously in their career, that's how they felt. They would bring a little frozen meal, they would put it in the microwave, but on the way back from the break room, they would inevitably get stopped with some sort of need or concern of someone else. And this person, being the person that they are, they wanted to do the right thing for that other person. They wanted to help. They wanted to make sure that all the tasks were being handled. But what was not being handled was the lunch. And this person ended up often not eating at all because by the time that they allowed themselves to take a bite, the food was then cold and it didn't seem like it was important anymore. They were prioritizing the needs of everyone else and not themselves. When they shared this with me, they shared with me that they've actually gained some healthy weight because they are now in a place where there's more balance. They are now in a place where they can slow down. And this person is the happiest they've ever been, just with that kind of shift. When you think about slowing down in the workplace, it can be really hard. And you really need to think about boundaries that make sense. I think coming from a generation that is the millennial generation, we have been raised to think that we should be working around the clock, which is ridiculous. When our parents worked prior to cell phones, if, there was no checking emails in the evening, there was no taking phone calls in the evening. I never once saw a work transaction or conversation of any kind in my home growing up. And you're only being paid to work your 9 to 5. A job is meant to, do something that does fulfill you and you can learn and grow from it. But if you break it down, the sole purpose of your job is to collect a check to support your life. Well, if you're not living life, what's the point? Slowing down as a parent, it can also be extremely difficult because these kids, no matter the age, they have needs. They have activities that you want them to participate in, they want to participate in. You need to get them to practice. You need to get them to games. You need to purchase the uniform. You need to make sure that the permission slip is signed for that field trip. All of these things, you have your own to-do list for yourself. But now suddenly you have a to-do list for 1, 2, 3 children. You need to stop and slow down and think about what tasks your child can handle for themselves. Delegation is important in the workplace, but it's also important for your children. The more that we do for our children, where they could actually do it for themselves, you're stunting their growth and you're stunting your own ability to enjoy life because you're taking on tasks that you have no business taking on. And I know, again, from firsthand experience, how difficult that can be. Because you might think, and this is true for the workplace and at home, it would just be faster if I did it myself. But you're not doing yourself any justice by not taking the time and teaching someone else how to prepare that report at work or to help your child teach them how to make their own bed or do their own laundry. Once you can delegate tasks, that is a crucial step in slowing down for yourself. You're taking more things off of your plate that, again, you have no business doing. Do something bold for yourself every day. Don't never get started because something feels too big. Going back to dreaming big, really think about and feel what it would feel like to have those dreams, but don't think about it where you're overthinking or you're being a perfectionist about how that would look. An example would be this very podcast. I have thought about starting a podcast for years, but I would talk myself out of it because I didn't know what technical skills would be required. I certainly didn't feel like I had those technical skills. I thought, well, to have a successful podcast, you need to have X, Y, and Z and all the latest and greatest expensive equipment. But I was listening to a podcast of a woman who was a past client and someone that I look up to, and she shared she had a very similar experience and thought process about starting her own podcast. And she said, why am I doing this? Why don't I just take the step forward to do it? I don't need a crazy studio. And she records hers on her phone. And if she didn't say that, I wouldn't have even known that. So I wasted years overthinking and trying to be a perfectionist when all it took was just one day to take one tiny step, a couple of Google searches, and figured out what the heck is an RSS feed that I need. And I'm doing it. You can't waste time in worrying about how things are going to go. Just do it. Just take a tiny little step forward and do something because you're only going to continue to step forward. It just doesn't mean that your first step has to be perfect. My hope is that a year from now, I can look back on these first podcasts and think, "Oh, wow, that quality wasn't the greatest. I'm so much more advanced now, but good for me. Good for me that I started, or I would have never even gotten to where I am today." And I think that having that pride in yourself is also really important. I mean, I'm celebrating the win here. I'm celebrating the win that I took that step and I started something that I've always thought about doing. Taking that step for yourself may look different. Not everybody wants to start a podcast. Maybe it's taking an art class. Maybe you want to rent a bike and just go biking for the day. Maybe you want to take a hip hop dance class. I mean, just do something. Just do something instead of just sitting on the couch and scrolling through social media and wishing that you had someone else's life, because I think so many of us are so guilty of that. It's crazy to think how much time I have personally wasted on my phone because 5 minutes just quickly turns into an hour. And, Instagram, for example, has this feature, this option that you can tag a post to save it for later. I cannot tell you how many posts I have saved of workouts that I thought I wanted to do, or meals that I wanted to make, or bread that I wanted to bake, or whatever it is. I saved so many posts of other people's life that I've actually never gone back to. I've actually never taken the action to do the thing that I thought in the minute that I wanted to do. So all I was doing was looking to someone else's highlight reel and wishing that I had that for myself, but somewhere subconsciously, I didn't have the confidence to just do it. And I don't want anyone else to stockpile a bunch of people's Instagram posts and not do the thing for themselves. You just have to take a tiny step. Now, the next one is more for parents. Put, well, it can apply to anybody, but specifically putting other people's needs, like your children, aside each day and do something just for you. We've sort of touched on this before, but those kids, they can hijack your day, they can hijack your life. You could spend every moment that you have catering to their every little need. You are a parent, and it is important to meet the needs of your children. But it is even more important that you meet your own needs. And if you do not do that, you actually will not show up as your best self as a parent. Your children don't need to be controlled, they need to be guided. And the best way to guide is with influence. And what better way to influence than showing them that you are this incredible role model, living this beautiful, happy life, and then they want to be just like that. The next thing that I've tried to implement is to explore things that I would have never done before and try new things. And one way that I think that you can easily do that is when you're already committing to yourself that you're going to make time for yourself each day and you're going to do bold things for yourself. You can be a tourist in your own city. How many of you live somewhere that has all of these incredible things to do, but you've never done them? Or maybe you think that there's nothing to do in your town. Maybe you really truly think there is nothing around here for me to do. I live in a small town, but I would challenge you to do a Google search, go on Groupon, go on Facebook events, and find something unique because maybe you think that there's nothing to do because you're stuck in your own way and you don't want to try something you've never tried before. Maybe you want to do one of those escape rooms. Maybe you want to take some sort of class. Maybe there's a tour that you can do where you can learn the history of your own city. It's important to get out of your box and get out of your own way and just continue to be the student and learn. And what a fruitful life you will have if you are continuing to gain more and more new experiences for yourself. The next thing is to work on your body and on your mind. We've talked a lot about working on our mind. We've talked about flipping those negative self-talk comments to yourself into positive reinforcement and celebrating your efforts. But we haven't talked a ton about the body. And I can speak from firsthand experience as I'm approaching 40 that our body is something we take for granted until it's gone. And as we start to age, we start to notice things about ourselves. We're starting to ache a little bit when we get out of bed in the morning, or maybe, for me, I've noticed that inevitably the kids lose stuff underneath the couch. And I'm asking my kids, well, why don't you bend down and look under the couch and see if your shoe's under there? Because I I don't want to do it because I feel like I can't. And that is a huge red flag to me that I'm 38 years old and I don't want to bend over like I'm some grandma. Working out or having movement for your body, I think that to have a goal of a physical appearance is great, but it also can just come organically when you have the goal that you just want to be healthy, you just want to be stronger, you just want to be able to lift your grandkids one day. You just want to be able to get out of bed without aches and pain. Movement in your body can do a lot of things, and inevitably moving your body can improve your mind because it's releasing happy hormones. It's also a stress reliever, it's a cortisol lower. If you're a woman, I think that we are dealing in today's society with extreme high levels of cortisol because of the stress that we put on ourselves, because of the things that we're consuming online, news, movies, terrible stories. Our cortisol being raised actually affects inflammation in our body. It elevates inflammation. It affects your digestive system. It can give you the cortisol belly. You might be carrying extra weight in your stomach. Movement will help that. Now, movement with something like a HIIT workout can actually elevate your cortisol. So that's something to think about. And you have to do what's right for your body. But light movement like walking, stretching, yoga, those are all extremely beneficial to you. And all of those things are going to improve your mood, improve your body function, and you will thank yourself when you're 60, 70, 80 years old that you took the time to do that now for yourself. Saying no. Saying no has been a huge obstacle for me in my life, but it has been one of the most powerful things I have ever learned how to do. Saying no to something, saying no to one thing, is saying yes to an unlimited amount of possibilities. When you say no to, I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I don't have the time to do that. I could do that, but I couldn't do it to my fullest ability. You're putting a boundary on, I'm not going to people please. You're putting a boundary on the fact that I'm only going to do things that I want to 100% or can 100% give my effort to. And when you say no, you're making so much extra time for yourself for all of these other things. And maybe you can already identify what saying no can open the door to, or maybe you don't. But even just knowing that you're creating all of this extra space and time for yourself to do the things that you want, shouldn't that be exciting? It can feel so freeing to finally lay down your own law and say, this is not for me. I am only going to do the things that I feel aligned to. You know, I've heard recently friends say if it's not an F yes, it's an F no. And I think that's some valid advice to kind of keep with you and help you choose what you're going to say no to. Another action that I take in order to live a more positive, happy life is I gas people up. You know, we talk about how focusing on yourself and improving yourself can improve your life and improve your relationships. But you also have to remember the key thing that we talked about at the beginning, that positivity is contagious. And it's just like giving to a charity. You know, sometimes it feels so freaking good to give to somebody else. And when you push out that positivity, or even prior to that, you're searching for that positive thing that you want to see in other people. And then when you see it and you can tell them and you can make their freaking day by acknowledging and validating them in whatever amazing thing that they have done, you are spreading joy to others. And that is a ripple effect that is just going to go out into the world and make people happier. And that again, it all comes back to you. On the flip side, sometimes you can find yourself in situations with people who you are around in person, or maybe the people that you find on your social feed that no matter what you've tried, you have reached the limit or reached the realization that they are depleting you or they are triggering some sort of negative emotion out of you. And I just recently had a podcast episode where we discussed when is it the right time to cut ties. And the great advice was the three chance rule. You know, you can give somebody three chances in an in-person relationship because sometimes people are just off and people make mistakes. But with each chance, it's imperative that you communicate what happened or what transpired and how that made you feel and what you need from them in order to move forward. And if they just continue to violate that, or if they just continue to make you feel just crappy, then it's time to make a change. With people online, it's a lot easier. It's easier to use the algorithm to your advantage. You can easily mute, unfollow, block. You are now getting things in your social feed through the algorithm based on what you're already looking at and that you like. So, the more that you focus your attention on things that are positive, you should start to see more positive things in your feed. The doom scrolling is a real problem. So, I would challenge everyone to really pay attention to the people in real life and in online that are not making you feel good. They are going to continue to do whatever they're going to do, and that's fine. That is the life that they want to live. Go for it. But for you, at some point, you need to take some sort of action that's going to separate yourself from that so you're just not absorbing those bad vibes. The last thing that I'm going to share, something that I practice, is saying I am statements. The words I am are the most powerful words you can say. So you have to be extremely careful what you say after I am. Again, going back to the law of attraction, whatever you put out there comes back to you. Saying I am and following with a negative statement, you are claiming that negativity. Saying I am with a positive statement afterwards, you are only going to be creating positive experiences for yourself in the future. I will literally say, ugh, I am so good. I am so smart. I am so awesome. I killed it. I rocked it. I will celebrate myself and celebrate my efforts with I am statements. And I have found the more that I do that, the more amazing things happen. You can say that, you know, you don't believe in magic or you don't believe in the power of the universe or you don't believe in God, whatever you don't believe in, but I am here to tell you, you should believe in yourself and you should believe in the power of positivity because I am living proof. And so many friends of mine I've also seen as proof that whatever you whatever you put in rather, you get back. When you say I am, you are claiming something for you. And in your life, you are the main character of your life. So why not say I am? Again, I am not an expert, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying I am a student, and that's what I always want to be. I want to be the student that is ever evolving. I am evolving because years from now, I know that I am only going to get better. And I have seen that happen so far, and I know that that will continue to be the case. So that is just my little food for thought for today. I want to share this power of positivity that I'm experiencing with all of you. I hope that you catch my positivity germs. I hope that each and every single one of you takes this advice for yourself and you learn to live the life that you deserve. All right, guys, I have some final thoughts. I want you to close your eyes and imagine that these tools are a fragile gift from me, tied up in a little pretty bow. Your special gift includes not being the victim. Flip the negative into a positive lesson. Be excited about what could happen and believe in the law of attraction. Plan something. Daydream about your dream life and have faith that what is meant for you will happen. Included in this gift is the ability to romanticize your life, make promises and commitments to yourself, and follow through to create confidence. Celebrate your wins and your efforts. Included in this gift is the ability to slow the heck down and feel grateful. Do something bold for yourself every day by putting other people's needs aside just for a little moment and do something that is meant just for you. This gift includes the ability to work on your body and mind, to say no to things that don't align, and say I am statements. I put so many things in this gift for you, and I bet it's heavy, and I would hate for you to drop and break it. Protect this at all costs. Should you see anything or anyone coming towards you with ill intent or bad vibes while holding this gift, steer clear. Let other people and situations happen as they wish to. You don't have an extra hand that will ever change that. Your job is to protect what's yours. The longer you hold on to this gift, the stronger you will get. The stronger you get, the happier you will live. Did this episode of Bold Foundations inspire you? Or can you relate? Maybe you have your own story to tell. Whether you want to share with me privately or you would like to be a guest on the podcast, reach out by going to boldfoundations.my.canva.site or follow us on Instagram at bold_foundations. And don't forget to leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening.